Hi folks, welcome to this video in a new place. This is my home away from home for the week. I work away from home quite a bit, and even despite what's going on in the world, I'm still working away. Don't worry, all precautions are being taken as best you can. But anyway, so the reason I'm making this video is to show you something that helps me when I'm away working around the country doing this incredibly boring job I do. And let me first sort of start by saying, because I seem to spend so much time out on the road, travelling around, going to places like this, I got fed up of getting home at the weekend, maybe buying records at the weekend or having records delivered, and I got fed up of never really having the time to actually listen to them. So I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could have a little portable player that I come away with, and I'm able to use that. Now, of course, everyone knows that probably the most popular portable player that is out there is the Crossley and its many copies. Now, actually, my mother has a Crossley. It does her fine. I actually had a problem. I don't have any problem with that. But anyway, I had seen a slightly step up from the Crossley. A portable player that is kind of in a suitcase type thing, but it looked to be better made. It used some metal rather than plastic, and it seemed to have a decent stylus, and so I'd read and seen some decent reviews, so I thought, well, I'd take a punt. I think it was £89. I know that I should have known that price, it's not going to be very good. But anyway, I got it, it arrived, and I was initially quite happy with it. It looked quite good. It seemed to have a tracking force that wasn't ridiculous. It was about right. Anyway, I started to use it and started to kind of have a play around with it, and then I found that, first of all, the tone arm was bent, and so the stylus wasn't hitting the record at a right angle. And then I also decided I would check it for wow and flutter. And first of all, I found out that it was running slow. I think it was slow. And so I opened it, I got in, and I found that you could adjust the speed of the motor, so I did that. And on the face of it, it seemed to speed it up or slow it down. Speed it up, I think it was, to the right. I got the right thing, but I then noticed that the wow and flutter, well, not the wow, more like flutter, was shocking. Now, between you and me, I'm not sure if it wasn't me going in and adjusting the motor. Anyway, but they're supposed to be adjusted. Anyway, it was so ridiculous. I mean, I know that some people say they can hear the wow and flutter on things that perhaps other people couldn't, but I think nobody would have missed the flutter that this had. It was ridiculous. Anyway, so I thought, I'll sod this for a game of soldiers. I'm going to send it back and get my money back, which I did. I put it all back together again, sent it back, and they gave me my money back. Good old Amazon, wonderful. I can't remember what the name of it was, so I'll have hopefully put pictures up to show you what it looked like. And I can't remember what it was called, but I will put that up as well. Anyway, I was still left in the situation where I don't have a record player to take away with me. So I started to think about it in a slightly more blue sky way of thinking. So instead of having a portable player, why don't I see if I can get a record player, speakers, amplifier, everything I need that's kind of as small and compact as possible so I can put it in its own bag. And that is what I have done. Let me show you it. Over here. So it is, I would say, perhaps slightly larger than a Cobra case. It's slightly larger than and heavier than most portable players, but at least it is all in there, so it's portable. I can take it where I want. So I'm going to set it up and show you what it looks like, and then I might even show you some records if you are very lucky. So let's set it up then. Okay, so I'm going to set it up, and just to see how long it takes me to set it up, I'm going to set the kettle off, and hopefully by the time it's boiled I'd have set it up. So when you're about to get set, go. Literally finished, I think, and the kettle is just about to boil. In fact, it has just boiled. Okay, so let's have a coffee and sit down and listen to some records. Cheers, ears. I'll show you what's actually here then. I'll give you a closer look. Okay, so here we are. The turntable is a Technics SL-J11D. It's a linear turntable. You can see if I open the lid, there's which moves across. That means that of course it can be, the footprint's a lot smaller. And actually the reason I bought this was because its footprint is no more really than a 12-inch record. It's quite sturdy. It's quite heavy. Although the lid is plastic, the base is almost fully metal, which is nice. Although it does add a little bit of weight to the whole thing, but it's more sturdy, of course, for travelling, which is handy. Other models of these allow you to pre-program, and they work out how many tracks and things like that. But this doesn't have that feature. But I'm quite happy. It's a basic thing and it plays, and that's the main thing. So the speakers, these are Edifier R1280 DBs, and they're active speakers, which means that they have their own amplifier in them, which is kind of handy. They have what are they called? Remote control. So you've got a remote control here, which can do for the volume and turns them off. It also has a Bluetooth function, so I can send anything from my phone to them, so I can use the speakers like that. Even from, if I want to watch telly or something on my my tablet, I can do that, which is nice. I mean, not really of use here, but if you look around the back, you can see that we have different inputs. So there's two sets of RCA inputs. There's a coaxial and there's an optical, and then of course the cable going across to the second one, the passive speaker. So those are those, and at the back I need a preamp. The turntable doesn't have a preamp fitted itself, but what I've got here is one of the smallest ones I could find. And for me, it works perfectly well. It's probably not an audiophile's dream, but this is the Behringer PP400 preamp, and it's a very small thing. It's got a ground lead, which is handy, so everything's tickety-boo and sounds great. So what I do is, if I clearly they can go quite loud, but I don't really have them loud in my room because obviously I've got to worry about the neighbours. But handily, what I've also got is this little device, which is a Bluetooth transmitter, which means I can plug this directly into the preamp, and instead of it going to the speakers, I can then send the signal to my headphones. So if I want to listen at late at night or something like that, I can listen on my Bluetooth headphones. So that's not bad. So it's kind of a bit of everything I've got working. So there you go. So that's basically the setup I've got. So I'm really happy with the turntable. It's the first time I've had a linear one, and it plays really well. So there you go. Right, okay, so that's the turntable and my touring setup. So I thought I'd show you a couple of records I brought with me. Well, I brought a bag full, so to keep me going. Well, actually 2 bags full, but you need those, don't you? Anyway, so I thought I'd show you some new stuff that I haven't shown as of yet. The first one is an album by a band called Unicorn. It's called Laughing Up Your Sleeve. Now, Unicorn are a UK kind of country rock group from the 1970s. This is a release from on Omnivore Records from 2018, which is demos, which would be demos for their, what's the album called? Their second album, which is called Blue Pine Trees, which I also have. And this is produced by Dave Gilmour. And he produced their 3 albums, actually. Well, they had one album that they released before then on Transatlantic, but then Dave Gilmour produced their remaining 3 albums. So these are demos from, I think, 73 into 74, and basically everything is produced and engineered by Dave Gilmour. He actually plays pedal steel guitar on the first track. I might give you a listen to that because it's a cracking song. This is, I mean, actually, I almost prefer this to the original album. But if you haven't heard Unicorn, they're really worth listening to. A very, very good sounding band. This record especially sounds very modern. If you like Americana, if you like modern alt country, give it a listen. So that's Unicorn, Laughing Up Your Sleeve. Okay, the next one, I got this at the weekend. This is Gemma and the Travellers, Too Many Rules and Games, on Ligier Recordings. This was released in from 2017. Now, this is the second album I've got. It's their first album, but they have a second one out. But this is basically kind of R&B, funky R&B, Northern Soul. Think Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, and you won't go too far wrong. They are an Anglo-French band who record in Germany. So I'll perhaps give you a listen to some of that, because that's really nice. Quite short album. You don't get your money. Well, I suppose you get your money's worth, because I only paid about £12 for it. So there you go. So Gemma and the Travellers. Okay, now this is, you probably can't really see it very well. I have to take it out of its sleeve. This is an album by, it's called Handfuls of Night by Penguin Cafe. Now, you might be familiar with the Penguin Cafe Orchestra. Well, they started in the 70s, maybe early 80s, I can't remember. And they were Simon Jeff's kind kind of brainchild really. And unfortunately he died quite young after a handful, a substantial amount of records. But this is a kind of a continuation of the Penguin Cafe Orchestra, which Arthur Jeffs, who is the son of Simon Jeffs, has continued. I suppose they don't want to necessarily confuse it with the Penguin Cafe Orchestra by calling it the Penguin Cafe. But of course, if you like Penguin Cafe, you'd probably like this. The Penguin Cafe Orchestra were a kind of classical avant-garde pop kind of amalgamation. This is a bit more kind of classical come ambient almost. It's beautiful. I heard this and I had to get it. Kind of active ambience, I would perhaps say. Lots of piano, cello, very nice sounding record. So that's Handfuls of Night. This was released, I think it's their 4th album. I think they started as the Penguin Cafe in, I think 2012 was their first release. This was from late last year. Very nice, Penguin Cafe. Okay, this is an album by a band called Cite, and it's called Little Kingdom. Kingdom? No, yeah, Kingdom. And they are I first heard these, I think this is from 2007. 2007. That's what you say, don't you? You can say 2007. Anyway, I've forgotten how to talk. It's ridiculous. Okay, so Cite. This is their 2nd album. They're a San Francisco. Oh, I think they were. I think they're no longer going. I don't think. This is San Francisco band. Kind of psychedelic pop rock. They're described as, and it's kind of a lot of layered guitars, kind of harmony guitars. Very relaxed, kind of almost. I suppose you could almost slightly prog rocky in places. Heaven forbid I listen to prog, but in fact, if people like prog rock, they probably wouldn't like this. But anyway, indie rock is basically what it is, but it's lots of instrumental, and what vocals they have is quite ethereal, very Brian Wilson, Beach Boysy kind of stuff. So this is the 2nd album, really worth listening to. I'll perhaps put a little bit of this on as well. Cite, Little Kingdom. And finally, a album by a group called Federale. This is called The Blood Flowed Like Wine. I think it's from 2012. There, now we've worked out how to say it. And they are a kind of a Portland-based group with a kind of a super group of various indie bands from Portland, Oregon. Led by a guy, what's his name? Colin Hayner, who also plays bass in the Brian Johnstown Massacre. But this is basically a kind of a Ennio Morricone spaghetti western influenced album. This one, which is their 3rd album, is basically a kind of a soundtrack to an imaginary spaghetti western film, really. However, they've just had a new album out, and that's all of the tracks have vocals on them, which I'm not quite so sure I like. His voice is an acquired taste, but this doesn't have a huge amount of him singing on it. It's got a couple of songs. There's a song Django. I'm not sure it was from the film. I think it's from the original. Is it Francis Nero? Francis Nero played Django. I think it's a cover version of the song from one of the early Django films. And it's got some lovely sort of soprano singing, much like you get if you know Ennio Morricone's soundtrack to something like Once Upon a Time in the West. So yeah, lovely sounding record. If you like Calexico, it's less Mexican mariachi than they are, but it's got the kind of the spaghetti western type stuff going on. So not easy to find. It took me a while to get that. I can't remember. I think it came from America. But I'd love to get their earlier stuff, which again is very similar. So yeah, that's Federale, The Blood Flowed Like Wine. Okay, there you go. So that's my home away from home, this setup. And yeah, I've been waiting to do this for a while. Now, before I go, I just want to say to everyone out there across the world, keep safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And hopefully at some point life will resume. At the moment, yeah, things are looking a bit grim, aren't they? But listening to records certainly cheers me up, so I hope it does for you. Oh, and also a shout out to John Downing, who's at the moment I think trapped in Spain. So I hope you're doing okay, not going too stir crazy. And don't worry, I've only a couple of times been to your house and ransacked your records, so don't worry about that. Okay, so until I see you again, I'll leave you on a tune. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so thanks for watching. I will see you when I see you. So cheers. Bye-bye.
There's a man in my mirror, face of death molding white, memories of last night hanging over his head.